Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and welcome to episode 308 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And I'm Dustin with Last Stand Media. What's up, Matty? It's early for you.
Yes.
And me, actually. I've been waking up later and later. I've become more like you, actually. But
welcome to the team. For those who are wondering, we're up a little bit early today. It's 10 a.m. We have not done this in literal years. In fact, we used to get Lone up at 6 a.m. to do the show in its early days, in its infancy, because he was in Australia. So
Right.
it's familiar territory, but it has not been trekked in quite some time. Dustin, how are you this morning? Are you doing well? Did you have coffee or anything before this? I mean, it changes the whole rhythm and routine of this show.
Right. Well, today is particularly weird. And the whole reason that we're doing this early is because I'm leaving for a little mini vacation. I'm visiting my parents in Virginia. So we're trying to get out of here pretty close to when Holly's done with work. And so I didn't want to be like, Maddie, I can't do it because I know that, we're in a, I don't want to say sensitive, but you don't have Karak here. So it's like, I want to be here for you and I want to be there for the audience. So I was like, Maddie, let's work something out. Can we do a little earlier? Now, what's really interesting is last night, my plan was to do all my Last Stand stuff last night. And then I had a bad export on Sacred. And I don't like doing other stuff on my computer when I'm rendering because it can fuck it up or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't do any of that last night. So I ended up waking up today. I went to bed at 2 and woke up at 7:30.
I was wondering how you had this much energy. You're moving a little bit. And
I've been up for a while, yeah.
You've had some time to get your legs.
I had a nice large cup of coffee. I will want to die later.
Yes.
Matter of factly, I will. The problem is, hopefully, I won't be driving.
Right. That would be bad.
But I think I'm going to try to get Holly to drive the first leg of the trip, and then I'll drive the DC area. Traffic is not.
Can you sleep in the car? Are you one of those people? Can you sleep in the car? Can you sleep on a plane?
No, definitely not. But I can at least rest. Like sometimes it's just about the mental.
Yes.
Not having to pay attention for like a minute would be nice. But other than that, though, I'm good. It's been a busy time, of course. Shout out to Defining Duke and the new host there. Lord Cognito, who's doing excellent work. And
that video that Locke did for our announcement, I showed it to my friends, and we were all hysterically laughing, man. This shit is, I mean, dude. I can't even describe it, because if I did, it would just do it disservice, and it's really unbelievable if you just combine everything. Just please go to the Last Stand channel, check it out.
It's called The Host. Highly recommended. It has both Maddie and I in it, and other friends of H.A.M
You
Radio,
and Ben recorded like Hassan Carmen or whatever his name is videos. I was like, are you serious? It's such high effort for a meme video. It's incredible.
I would have other details behind the scenes, but I don't want to, people should go watch it. Go watch it.
I agree. But yeah, feeling decent this morning. I thought I was going to wake up kind of wanting to die. My masculinity is feeling stronger than ever. The reason I say this is because, I've never been that guy who wakes. Have you heard of the art of the piss fart, Dustin?
Whoa. No, but I'd like to.
No, you haven't heard of this. Like, I feel like so many guys, maybe it's a dad thing, right? Like guy, you hear them peeing, and then like there's a little bit of flatulence that passes by.
Oh, like ripping ass at the urinal?
Yeah.
Almost?
Yeah.
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 I mean, I'm no stranger to that in my own home, but I'm not the type of guy that's going to rip ass at the urinal.
Yeah, not in public, right? No, not in public. Never. We have decency. Anyway, that was my morning, and that's a rare feat. So I was feeling a little more masculine today. I had a little more swagger in my step.
Wow. It's funny. My dad is like a total morning person, and my mom and I are not. Like my mom and I want to like kill people when we first wake up.
Same.
And so it's funny because getting ready for a trip makes me feel like I'm in dad mode, even though I'm not a dad. Because I remember my dad, it was like go time before trips. Like he was up at 6 a.m. He's packing the car. He's getting things ready. I shit you not. I remember leaving once. He has bags in his arms, steps outside and goes, beautiful day. And my mom and I are like, shut up. Like it was annoyed us so bad. So it's just weird, how that works.
Like he was embracing the moment, and you.
Oh yeah, yeah. He
So
had to smell the morning air and just take it in for a moment. I was like, oh,
You'll
no.
never catch me doing that. You'll never
No.
catch me sniffing the morning air, man.
Damn.
All right, as tradition dictates, we like to get into what games we're playing, all that urinal talk aside. Dustin, what games have you been diving into?
Okay, well, Maddie, of course, last week we touched briefly. I had purchased Mario Golf, but not played.
Yes.
And I've been playing that somewhat extensively throughout the week. It's good. It's very good, I would say. It isn't perfect.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that my overall take here is that Nintendo repeatedly, this is a new trend. Not a new trend, but a consistent trend, I could say now, with Switch games being kind of bare bones we heard about Mario Tennis. I didn't play that, but I heard it was a little bare bones. Super Mario Party, bare bones. Animal Crossing at launch, nowhere near the feature set as previous games, and now this. So, Maddie, I'm curious because I know you're playing it as well. I have barely scratched the story mode because I find it cumbersome. Like all the characters talking is boring. They make annoying sounds when they talk that grades in my ears. And I'm like, I just want to play golf. But I want to upgrade. I want that progression, but I don't want all this other stuff weighing it down.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was actually looking at the Game Boy Advance version, and I feel like I'm going to be a little disappointed if I dive in now because I didn't realize sort of the roots of this mode are more role-playing game oriented.
Right.
And I just don't hear great things about it. I'm the same as you. I kind of dive in, and my friends and I have played every night since the game came out. I think we missed one night, but mechanically, this game is so sound. I think it's really fun, especially once you start unlocking new club sets and you can shape your shot, earlier or in the middle or later. If you're curved, or you have to curve it around a tree or a rock. There's some really cool stuff you can do manipulating the wind, special shots. Every game, it reminds me almost of a MOBA where you expect something every game, but it plays out completely differently. Where you're going to land, these risky plays, if you're going to end up in the water or not, or any penalty area. I really like it. My biggest gripe really is when you tapped into the bare bones stuff is the courses. I wanted more courses. I that's the biggest thing for me is there's 6, and one of them is a rookie course. So I'm sorry, but it's very straightforward. So there's really 5. In fact, the first 2 are very easy. So my friends and I just rotate 4. And while we're really liking the game now because mechanically it's so sound, I think it's going to be really needing those new maps soon. And I don't know how soon they can bring them out. My other thing is that speed golf is not what I thought it would be. I kind of was, I'm jumping all over the place. So, I'll stop there. But yeah, for me, I feel like it's such a good game, but it could be so much more.
2 things, Maddie. First of all, on my stream, I played with your friend Kopi.
Yes,
and
I took his money the other night. We did a $10 bet. I beat him.
I said, I was like, Kopi, if you would play as Rosalina, you little pervert. And he's like, no comment. And I was like, yeah, we get it.
His reputation precedes him. He's known to be the anime chick guy. Like everyone expects it. It's like, oh, who's the woman on the roster that he will pick?
Right.
Yeah.
So the second thing, Maddie, I'm trying to. I know we've had this conversation, so please forgive me. But
that's okay.
Have you played Everybody's Golf?
Yes.
Okay. Because honestly, here's the thing. I'm like, man, I'm playing this, and I'm like, Everybody's Golf, I think, is just better. And I'm still gonna play and thoroughly enjoy Mario Golf. I want to see all it has to offer. But at the end of the day, a lot of times when I'm playing, I'm like, man, I feel like Everybody's Golf is just. I thought that this was going to be the game to succeed it and take that place for me because Everybody's Golf is kind of a older game at this point, and I wanted something fresh. And then I'm like, this really actually isn't as good as what my go-to was. So
yeah, I remember with Everybody's Golf because it's been 4 years now. I think that came out in 2017. everybody's golf was good from a single player standpoint, and I think my biggest issue with that, funny enough, I think came down to the courses. I think I
Oh.
remember just running down a same course over and over again, unless there was more that I'm forgetting, which I think is very likely.
Yeah.
But you can go ahead and double check that. But yeah, everybody's golf I know had like way better progression. You know, it felt like way more control, and they had the hub area. It was a really well-made game. That's the thing. These arcadey golf games are so underrated. I know there's Golf Story or something on the Switch. I think it's like a golf RPG or something. You know, there's some really cool golf games out there. This kind of just falls into that bin, but it has, like I said, I just can't emphasize enough. Once you like unlock these new clubs, you know, I felt like I'm hitting a ceiling. I'm like, okay, you know, I can see myself dropping this pretty soon. Then you unlock these new club sets, and it opens your mind to like how different you can play this game, and in that way, it's so fun to go back to. But it's just I wish for more courses, and if they're quick content updates, I really won't care, because they showed in the trailer like the new Donk City from Mario Odyssey as a course. I went, oh, that's pretty cool.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
honestly, I totally forgot. Man, I'm glad you mentioned that.
We were speculating that they could either take the kind of like they could take almost a Smash route, like do a Hyrule course for Zelda or an Animal Crossing course, have Tom Nook be a guest character. Like I'm curious to see how they do that stuff. But
I will say it's cool. They have some oddball characters like the King Babam guy, which is cool. But I was like, man, let me play as my boy Shy Guy. That's what I for some reason I'm always drawn in Mario Kart to play as Shy Guy, because I just think he's just like the weirdest little dude. I was like, man, I wish I could be Shy Guy. The other thing that's weird, okay, there's a few things that are weird about the characters, actually. First of all, they have Toadette in the story mode, but she's not a playable character, which I was like, oh, that seems weird.
Really?
The second thing,
that's very odd.
Everyone has dude, there's so many awesome outfits. Fucking Wario with the cowboy hat, the fucking drip. Amazing. So many great outfits. But then they just got fucking Donkey Kong wearing that old ass tie, the borderline Donald Trump tie that he wears. Is he a MAGA guy? We don't know. We've got him and Yoshi's just showing up in the nude, basically same old. I'm like, man, why didn't everybody get cool costumes? But
I agree.
I'm complaining over nothing.
It'd be cool if they had more costumes for everyone in general.
Yeah, dude. I just think, dude, and Toad, he's got the little hat on top of his like, mushroom head. It's so cute. I love it.
I do like that. Except the one character that stands out to me, and this isn't a nitpick, like something fucked up, was Daisy. I don't know. Have you seen Daisy's face?
Oh yeah, it's a little odd.
Terrifying, man. It's terrifying. I'm surprised there hasn't been memes about it, man. She looks like she's seen some shit. It's pretty wild.
Probably has.
Yeah, for real.
So if Daisy and Peach then is like Wario her counter male, like is she in a relationship with Wario?
I thought it was Luigi.
Oh, Luigi. Yeah. Yes. Okay, I didn't even think about it. Yeah. So.
I think. Yeah, so.
I mean, Luigi, maybe he has a hard time being a suitable partner, whether that's in a mental or even physical. We don't know. No, Luigi strikes me as a guy that's got some major junk in the trunk. He probably has no problem there.
Yeah. Wait, are you talking about his ass? I'm confused.
No, I'm talking about, well, I guess junk. I used the wrong euphemism there. I'm saying that Luigi, I think, has a huge dong.
Oh,
like definitely. Because he's scared all the time. He's kind of like, but then like, bam.
Yeah, he's
got it.
He's a shower, He's not a grower.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, it grows. Yeah. He shows and it grows.
That's impressive, then. That's impressive. Luigi's Mansion. Big dick energy.
Oh, dude, definitely.
I've also been playing Dead Space, which is pretty topical given that we have the remake to talk about this week. So I'm working on a video for the channel. For those who have seen The Life and Death of Sly Cooper, it's a kind of documentary style skit video that goes over the history of Sly Cooper and where it is now. We're going to do a similar thing with Dead Space, and the timing couldn't have been better because as I started up this project, we've had rumors of the Dead Space remake, so we're going to try to get that out before EA Play to sort of synchronize with that. And while the attention's high, maybe the video will do a little bit better. But as I am the psychopath I am, I don't like to make videos retrospectively on games and sort of just talk out my ass. I don't think that makes for good content. And also, I wanted to refamiliarize myself. What did I like, dislike with Dead Space? How did it age? And more than anything, the best skit ideas come to me when I play the game. And I think of, like, how can I take this moment in the game and translate it into real life and then create a story around it? That's typically my process. And so I am in Chapter 11 of Dead Space 2 now, which has 15 chapters. So we're almost done with that. And then we'll be moving on to Dead Space 3. Provided if there's a way I can play the DLC, I'll be doing that. But this has been one of the best choices I've made this year, going back to this survival horror franchise. And so I've been enjoying it immensely. There's just some real impressive feats here. It was a very forward-thinking game. Came out in 2008, the first Dead Space. And so it was more... I knew it was an impressive game. But going back to the first one, playing it and beating it for the first time, and I think I looked at my last achievement, it was 2009. And just completing it for the first time since that point in my life, where I had to have been a sophomore or a freshman in high school. That might have not even been then. I don't know, but I was young. I didn't know what was going on then. Surprised I even finished it at that point. And going back to it now, just it's impressive on a technical level, on gameplay, and its core, its pillars, like the dismemberment, the sound, the atmosphere, the ship kind of being claustrophobic. Just really good series. And then 2 just kicks it up a notch. I thought 2 was actually much scarier so far, and I've been enjoying it quite a bit. But have you played Dead Space before? I don't know if I've heard you speak on it.
I have played a little bit of it when it came out, and then I can't remember if it was on this show or I don't know. We're on too many shows, Maddie, so I don't know where I say things. But it wasn't the right time for me. Like, I was in, when did that game come out? 2008 or 9?
Yeah, the first one came out 2008.
Yeah, I just wanted to play Call of Duty and Halo at that point. And so I picked up this game and I was like, this isn't what I want right now. Forgot about it. But now, Maddie, I just realized I was like, oh, it's only $5 on Steam right now. I'm going to buy that. Just realized I already have it in my Steam library.
Oh,
so
or Game Pass.
That's right. If you want to play 30 FPS.
That's true. That's how I'm playing it. But
yeah. Well, I mean, more power to you if it doesn't bother you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I might have to peruse. Dead Space is interesting, Maddie. And this, well, okay, wait. I don't want to get into the news. Well, I'll save this take for the news. I'll bookmark it.
Okay.
But I'm glad to see you're going back. That's cool. And does the Xbox have any kind of like update? Like, is it higher resolution or anything?
I don't know if it upreses it entirely. I think there's scaling, of course, that you expect. It's pretty much the Xbox One X version is what I read, and I forgot what exactly that does. I think the biggest disappointment was there's no FPS boost, and with my luck, what's going to happen is they're going to announce FPS boost for the games when they re-reveal Dead Space, and they're going to say, hey, if you want to go play back the originals here on Xbox, they play best. I could totally see something like that happening. But as it stands now, nothing crazy. I think there's auto HDR, so...
Yeah, I'm seeing a Reddit post where someone's saying that the auto HDR in this game is great. Dude, I love that. Auto HDR is amazing. I think it's
it helps. It helps because, especially in Dead Space 2, where that game likes to turn the lights off on you a lot, a frequent amount, and just leave you in the dark because they figured out that, hey, what if we put a flashlight on the gun? What would happen then? And so they like to flip the lights off on you, and those darks get pretty dark. And I think that's thanks to the auto HDR. It helps a lot.
Maybe that's a good stream game for me because it's not.
Yes,
it's not super long, right?
9 hours a piece, probably. First time through, it might take you a little bit longer. But second one's shorter than the first one. Third one's the longest. Third one's the most divisive because it kind of drops the survival horror elements for more. You want to play that with a friend, is what I've recognized, is because they try to play some mental tricks with you with your co-op partner. And that's the more cool part of it, but. Definitely goes against the grain for what the series is built on, but I think still good. But that is longer too. But that's what I've been playing really this past week. Those 2 games. Anything else you wanted to toss into the mix?
Not really. I'm just still grinding out on Destiny, which I'm
Nice.
sure you're going to be hearing about a lot more Destiny on Duke now with
Yep.
Cog as your
Yep.
co-host. So that's
Deal with the
cool.
devil
But
there.
damn, dude. But no, other than that, um, Destiny, Mario Golf, that's the only important stuff.
Gotcha. All right, then let's get into the news where we can erect that bookmarked thought you had, because we're going to talk Dead Space Remake. So this is actually really exciting. Like I said, the timing could not be better, at least for myself. So we talked last week that a Dead Space game was in the works at EA Motive, and now we have a little bit more clarity on what it is, thanks to an article from VentureBeat.com. We'll just read it word for word here. Go ahead, check it out, give it a click, be fair. Electronic Arts has Star Wars Battlefront 2 co-developer Motive working on a new Dead Space game. Eurogamer and Gamatsu first reported the existence of the game, and GamesBeat can confirm parts of what each outlet has heard. While a new Dead Space is coming, Motive is rebooting the franchise with a full-fledged remake. I've reached out to EA for comment and will update this story with any input from the publisher. For its Dead Space game, Motive is taking notes from Capcom's recent Resident Evil remakes. Like Resident Evil Remake 2, or Resident Evil 2 Remake, sorry. Expect the next Dead Space to use the original game as a strong foundation, but it should also have modern visuals, and it will likely bring new gameplay mechanics inspired by other entries. I can hardly read today because I am tired. I'm sorry, I said expired instead of inspired. And speaking of Capcom, it's likely a major reason a new Dead Space is happening. While EA has let its horror franchise wither, the Resident Evil series is larger than ever, and Capcom has provided an easy blueprint for EA to follow. EA has likely also warms back up to the idea of producing single-player adventures after the success of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. The publisher has made statements in the past about shifting its focus to live service games, and that was part of the deliberate decision to invest in single-player experiences following the poor results of Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Developer DICE created Mirror's Edge Catalyst, and that game came and went for EA. The next year, DICE released Battlefront 2, which was even more of a disaster at launch, and yet, as a service, DICE was able to turn that game into a success over time, and EA will still pursue success in live service, but now that may turn to single-player only franchises like Dead Space, Dragon Age, and Mass Effect to diversify that business model. Very, very, very excited about this. Even though Motive, I don't really have a lot of trust. Dustin, if your bookmark thought is still lingering there in your brain, I know it's early, it's possible it may have fell out, but would you like to pick up with that?
Yeah, I was just thinking that I'm glad to see. I feel like, I'm trying to figure out if this is the right take. I'm just gonna say it anyway. I'll see what you think. Maybe you can correct me here. I feel like we are starting to feel a renaissance of a return to what am I looking for? Back to the way things were in some ways with video games.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly, in 2008, we have Dead Space, we have, single player games. We're single player games. The multiplayer games are multiplayer games. Within a few years after that, and I think probably because of the success of things like Call of Duty or whatever, suddenly everything needs to have multiplayer, like BioShock 2. Dead Space 3, they wanted to make it more commercial. They add multiplayer. We see Resident Evil and other Japanese IPs try to westernize themselves to be more appealing. Devil May Cry is one. Resident Evil becoming more action focused. Like, I feel like in the early 2010s, we saw a lot of series lose their way and suffer for it and maybe go away. And so it's good, I think, that over the past 5 years, we've seen a lot of these franchises pick up the pieces. Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, which I know a lot of people like DMC. I've never played it, but I know whether or not DMC is good or not isn't changed the fact of whether or not it should be. It's what Devil May Cry is. Do you know what I mean? It can still be good, but not Devil May Cry, if that makes sense. I've never played
DNA.
it. Yeah. So to see these fan favorite franchises that lost their way due to publishers chasing the golden goose of services, multiplayer, whatever, to see these franchises come back slowly, and Dead Space is one of those that has been long dormant, people love, and now on the way back is just thrilling.
I agree entirely, and I'm very excited. Just yeah, it's a good time to be gaming. It typically is, but like you said, you're starting to see it not turn into this live service conundrum that seems to typically boil down to. I think EA is doing some smart stuff now, which maybe seems obvious to us, but it's not obvious to them as they have obligations to their shareholders. For them to kind of let BioWare off the leash a little bit, let them do single player stuff. We're seeing this be a single player only game, and we're seeing a Jedi Fallen Order sequel for sure, which will be single player. As you know, they it's good that they just understand, like, hey, we're going to be mega profitable with our ultimate teams and stuff, and let these sort of, as the article said, diversify the portfolio and give us a larger offering. Because what happens is situations like Anthem, where not even the fact that EA pushed them into a live service game, but they may have been responsible for having BioWare try live service, but they also gave BioWare 8 years to figure it out. So
Right.
while it was EA's fault for pushing them in the first place, BioWare took 8 years and still made something like crap. And it's like, you just got to identify sometimes teams don't gel with certain things. Like BioWare as a whole is single player. Motive has shown, I'm going to use the word capability, because both they've worked on Star Wars Battlefront 2's campaign and Squadrons. And Squadrons I liked on a gameplay level. VR, flying around my starship, attention to detail. They're good at that stuff. And maybe having a framework like Dead Space 1 to just work off of will guide them. But there has not been anything on a narrative level or a presentation level that has really blown me away with either of their games. In fact, I would argue the stories for both of them were pretty bad. So provided they're following the remake formula, I want to ask you a question. I know you haven't played the series much, but in the first game, Isaac Clarke, main character, he's silent. Second and third, he speaks. What do they do for the remake? Do you think he talks from frame one?
What was the reception to hearing him speak? Were people kind of like, ugh? Like,
I think it made the games better. I don't know the general reception. I'll just say I think it made the games better, because in the first one, it's like, Isaac, go do this. Isaac, do this. And you're kind of getting forked commands all around the ship. The second one's a little more interactive, where you're running into people and you're kind of game planning and doing all different things. And so Isaac can speak for himself and say, like, I'll do this and you do this. And it feels less like you're taking an order. So I think they're going to make him speak, but I almost think that immediately devalues what the first game was really. I mean, first one is just this, it's probably my favorite. I love two, but at the same time, one is so pure. I wonder if that gets lost in translation. Like, that's a huge decision to make right off the bat. You could tell in the first 5 seconds of the game when they show it. It's like, okay, let's see what they're doing. But
right.
yeah, I'm a little concerned on that front.
I'll be honest. Most of the time, I would lean towards the fact that I do not like silent protagonists.
Right.
In that, the problem is that so many developers can't decide if they want the silent protagonist to be an audience surrogate or not, right? Like, they're like, okay, he's silent, which usually to me is a mechanic to make it feel like this person is you. You're making the decisions, your thoughts. Their character isn't bleeding in to influence you. But then when you start to give them more and more personality and backstory, then it's like, well, that whole audience surrogate thing doesn't seem to kind of work as well, at least to me. Like, I've always thought, maybe this is a bold take, like Persona 4, silent protagonist. When I watch the Persona 4 anime and they give the protagonist a voice and more of a character, I was like, damn, I wish this was his character in the game, because he is a really funny, like, he's the good-natured, he's kind, just like your character in the game, but he had, like, they were able to incorporate the fact that you could say some silly shit every once in a while.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about the way they did it in the anime, is that the main character was a little bit of a wild card. Um, so I feel like I just prefer to just do it, just make him a character.
Yeah.
As long as they do it right.
I'm guessing it was probably budget reasons. It was their first game, and it was survival horror. How will this do? So I think they just probably made him silent for that reason and save money. I anticipate them to do it that way, and I think the way you speak on it there opens my mind to it a lot more. Otherwise, I think one of the most exciting things that they can do with this remake is the Ishimura, which is this ship that the first game is set in, is, as I said, very claustrophobic. It's a lot of like tunnels to rooms. It sort of narrows you down, then opens you up. And the way they make that interesting is with diverse enemy encounters and really playing with the atmosphere through tech, like lighting, sound. I remember one instance, it's probably my favorite part atmospherically so far in my trilogy replay, is you're walking down a hallway and you hear like a boom, boom. And it sounds like someone's kind of pacing around, and you're like, oh, there's a creature in the tunnels above me or something. They're probably going to drop down and scare me. And I turn the corner, and it's just a guy literally like slapping his head against the wall over and over. And as you get closer, he just hits his head and slides down. It's like, holy shit. And so that toying with sound and the level of, I don't want to say the level of tech, because I can't act like I'm overly familiar with everything they're doing, but you can see what they're trying to do with like baked in lighting and certain set pieces. And to maybe see that take a more dynamic route with the remake, and for them to open up the ship and make it more explorable and add some extra rooms. I'm very kind of like what they did with Resident Evil 2, right? It was a remake where it was faithful, but yet they definitely made it more modern in its exploration and its secrets. And I'm very excited to see how they handle that, because it could be better in the original. That's the thing. It has a chance to.
Sure. Yeah. Betty, you made me think of one funny thing, because I actually think I remember that part of Dead Space with the guy banging his head.
Wow.
But one, this is maybe, I don't want it to come off as nitpicky. It's just something funny that I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I remember in the first game that they tried to do the jump scare where there's someone or like a monster or whatever dead on the ground. Then they like come to life. And
they do that all the time.
They pull it too many times. And I'm like, motherfucker, I know you're alive. You can't get me this time. And maybe that's the point, is that Isaac gets, wises up to the fact that these dudes are trying to, nip at his balls or whatever when he steps over him.
What's incredible is that sometimes they'll get you pretty good and you'll shoot the body being like, I know you're alive, and it's dead. And it's like, oh, yeah. It's a really good series though. And for those who may be wondering, should we wait for the remake? Should you play the originals? I think because the originals are short enough, we're talking like 9 hours a game. Obviously, the third one, like I told Dustin, being the longest. And Visceral nailed it, by the way. They did an excellent job. Like, each of these games, I think, are great. The first two being the best in the series. But still, each of these games are great. EA Motive isn't proven enough to me to just recommend you wait. I would say if you're curious about these games, that playing them might actually get you more interested in the remake. Not sure what they'll show, but I'm just saying that this is a situation where people have the opportunity to, through Game Pass or through owning it already, you can compare much easier. It's much more accessible, and especially with the length of the game, it's even more accessible. So I do recommend giving them a look over once again. You'd be surprised how well they've aged. They don't really... 2008 was an interesting year because this is the second game I've played from that year in the last, I'd say, 10 months. The one before that was Lost Odyssey. And Lost Odyssey was another game that came out in that year, and I thought, wow, this feels like a modern release in a lot of ways. Like, you don't really feel its age all too often. And so, just my personal recommendation. Dustin, anything else you want to tack on for Dead Space?
No, I think we covered it pretty good.
Yeah, I'm proud of us. We did a great job there. All right, now with Dead Space done, let's move into PlayStation acquisitions. So there have been quite a few this week. I'm sure it's been a fun episode of Sacred Symbols. Now, wow, where do we begin with that? So we have learned that, of course, they've acquired Housemarque. That's been welcomed into the PlayStation first-party family. There was a leak which slipped through PlayStation Japan that seemed to acknowledge that Bluepoint is joining the PlayStation first-party family. And then, kind of a little bit of a curveball here, and please correct me if I say this wrong, they announced that the Dutch studio Nix's
Yeah, we
software?
didn't know how to say it on Sacred. We just assumed it was Nix's.
Yeah, Nix's
something like
software,
that.
who is known more so for like PC ports, it seems, which is pretty good get for them as well, given that it really indicates how serious they are about bringing their games to PC. And I think Karak put a tweet out that I wanted to shout out because it was a pretty well played. It was well said, where it mentioned how a lot of people are going to have to build a new bridge because these were sort of the go-to guys for these PC ports. So they helped with the Killzone Shadowfall launch as well. I'm reading a tweet here on Herman Holst's account. So they've worked together in the past, and I'm very excited for PlayStation. They seem to be getting a little more aggressive in their own creative way. Dustin, what do you make of this? Not the biggest pop, kind of like a Bethesda, but I think it's because some of these were expected. They weren't out of left field. They weren't the level of, hey, we've just bought 9 studios or whatever.
Right.
So what do you make of everything that's transpired this week with PlayStation?
Yeah, PlayStation's making moves that are not surprising for them, but I still think good moves nonetheless. Obviously, Housemarque, awesome studio, made tons of great games. Just made Returnal, which was great. And I think that, I guess let's take all this into account as well. Of course, the Bluepoint thing, which, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know the story, PlayStation Japan put out a tweet announcing Housemarque, but the image said Bluepoint. And you're like, oh, well, maybe some dumb intern put the wrong logo. Well, it was beyond just the logo, because they had all these slices of games.
Yeah.
And so for the Housemarque one, it had Returnal. And the Bluepoint one, they had Demon Souls.
Yeah.
So it's more than just an accidental thing. This is happening. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. Like, why would this image just exist on accident? It doesn't make any sense. So Bluepoint will inevitably be announced. And then, of course, this PC porting studio, they kind of, the last decade or so, have worked on Square Enix games, porting those to PC. And I think that, instantly the fanboy wars on Twitter, I fucking saw this when Housemarque got announced. There was someone instantly, like, one of the top comments that were like, wow, you really think this compares with Bethesda? And then they put like the Metacritic score of Returnal versus some Bethesda. It was so stupid. I'm like, no. Like, here's the thing that we got to look at with Xbox and PlayStation is, I think that obviously there's so much talent in the studios that was a big aspect of the purchase. But a lot of that purchase was for IP, because Xbox, they've got some IP, but they don't have anywhere close to, at least at the time, they didn't have anywhere close to PlayStation's level of IP, or like iconic IP. We'll say they got Halo, they got Gears, of course, but nowhere near the level of PlayStation. So Sony's acquisitions aren't going. I don't think that IP is a major factor in what they're looking for. They're looking for teams that, first of all, fit in their culture, which Housemarque they've worked with a ton, and can make games that they think fit for their audience, which is something like Returnal, whatever. Not that that wouldn't fit for Xbox, but I don't know. So, and then you look at Bluepoint. Bluepoint is the perfect studio to buy for a company that has a huge wealth of not only active IP, but dormant IP. Matty, your beloved Sly Cooper being one of them.
I know.
Or,
the rumor is Metal Gear, but after.
Right.
after.
Which Metal Gear
Dustin.
is interesting because that wouldn't help my point here because they'd be getting that IP from Konami. But either way, I think that would still be cool. But that's just one project. So, and then of course, finally, Nixxes, right?
Yeah.
Nixxes, PlayStation is bringing their games to PC like across the board. Not day and date, I don't think. I think they're going to be delayed. It's going to be a long time before you see a PS5 game on PC. But they saw huge money from their other releases, and they weren't. So they're like, yeah, obviously this makes sense, and I agree with them. I think it's a fantastic thing for them to bring these particularly the games that have run their course on PlayStation.
Right.
Horizon, Days Gone, what was the other one that they brought?
Horizon, Days Gone. Why am I?
Or is it just those two? I mean, Death Stranding was one, but that was kind of separate because
I think that's
505
what
games.
I was thinking of. Yeah.
Anyway, there's so many that make sense now to bring over. Uncharted, I think Uncharted was in that document from a few weeks ago, so I'm guessing that'll be there. There's rumors about Ghost of Tsushima. That one seems a little soon. I think it might be. I don't know. We'll see. I kind of think that's not. I know that was the rumor, but now that they announced that director's cut, which we're going to get into,
it'll push it back for sure.
So anyway, I think that people. I'm not accusing this of you, Matty, because I know that you understand. I think that people need to stop looking at this as like a dollars to dollars or like direct comparison. You got to look at what the needs are of each of these companies. And obviously, I'm not trying to say that these purchases are on the level of a Bethesda. Clearly not.
Right. But
it makes perfect sense for Sony to acquire these teams for what they need.
Exactly. And I said this in my video about it, that it's exciting because they did state they're not in an arms race with Xbox, which makes sense because, not to sound elitist when I say it like this, but I don't think they can afford to be. I think Microsoft would eventually outbid them. And that's sort of why I like what PlayStation's doing, which is taking this pure partnership approach, saying, let's work with these people extensively. Housemarque they've worked with since the PS3. We've seen them really team up with Bluepoint more frequently since Shadow of the Colossus. Not that they haven't handled other games for PS3, but that was really where I think they started to work closer with PlayStation. And then we saw the Demon's Souls remake. They team up with these guys and gals for years and years, and then they buy them out, which I think effectively lowers their asking price. And I think as they create a good relationship, it makes them want to be a part of PlayStation because there's familiar grounds there. Once again, I think it's becoming more and more valuable to these developers where teams are offering safety. They're saying, hey, we will keep you employed. We will keep you protected. You need a check. We've got the check. That matters so much to developers. And so they're starting to sell off more and more. So I think this is smart also because while Xbox sort of is doing this, right, you hand off Fable to Playground, or you hand off Perfect Dark to the Initiative. They don't really have a dedicated remake studio or a dedicated port studio. So there's something kind of exciting if in the pipeline for PlayStation, what's our next remake? And it's not just going to be like, as exciting as Dead Space remake is, I did like how EA Motive was trying to do these newer things like Star Wars Squadrons. That was kind of new. We hadn't seen a Starship game in some time, especially in the Star Wars universe. And to then take that talent that's developing new stuff and say, like, let's work on this remake, even though they don't have like a heritage with it. Just to have a studio that's known for remakes, quality remakes, and they just handle them consistently, I think is a really good tool because you don't have to really worry about is Sucker Punch going to go back and now suddenly remake Sly Cooper. As much as I would love that, I'm also a fan of them just moving on and making new stuff and leaving now a studio dedicated to remakes to do that. So I like how they've addressed the needs and sort of place something in the pipeline ever so delicately that's exciting, and at the same time, in the same week, really secured their PC front and kind of made a statement to their customers that we're serious about this. Have you played the Days Gone PC port? Because I know the Horizon one was pretty spotty. Was the Days Gone one an improvement?
So the Horizon one was spotty at launch, but I'm pretty sure it's very good now.
Okay.
I'm not 100% certain on that, but I know that they like made a huge profit eventually from it. So if it was still horrendously bad, I would assume that the sales would be bad, but who knows? The Days Gone one was very good. I was running it like 4K, 100 frames per second on my
Nice.
3080, and it looked really good. It's like, I don't know if I really want to play this, but I checked it out. Since it was part of Handsome Phantom stuff. But so yeah, I mean, but that one was Unreal Engine, so they were already kind of like halfway there, as opposed to getting Decima for Horizon, which I guess there probably was some work done because of Death Stranding, but
Right.
the thing, Maddie, the only other two thoughts that I really had about this Sony stuff is that I think are worth mentioning is that I think that Sony probably got Housemarque really cheap.
They didn't even share a price, so
yeah,
possible.
because Nex Machina didn't sell super well. Matterfall, I don't know how Matterfall did. That was one of the games they partnered with Sony. They were working on Storm Divers, and that kind of seemed to have, at least from the outside, a tumultuous development. You know, another battle royale game. It was a very crowded market. And then Returnal was born out of that. And so I think that they were kind of lost in what to do because, you know, their whole MO was arcade style games. And so I think they've kind of found a happy medium. The last thing, Maddie, I would just want to mention is that as we're talking about acquisitions, is that let's see, this was back in April. I'm trying to remember if it was at where Sony stated this. I'm looking at an article now. This is on wait, which site? I want to find a different site that's more okay, Games Radar. Sony will start aggressively investing in first-party studios. They invested $180 million into first party this year. So you can look at that. I mean, Insomniac was like what, 200 million some in that range?
Yeah, I think it was 229.
220
number. That was exactly.
So I think that Sony is looking at this like instead of buying a lot more studios, like buying up a bunch to try to compete on Microsoft's level as far as studio count, what if we can just make more games with our existing studios and try to expand culture? And we've already heard the rumors about Last of Us and Naughty Dog. Like Naughty Dog's working on Factions. They're working on this Last of Us remake. And supposedly also there's some Uncharted project. So clearly, and also Insomniac. I mean, look at their output as well.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting.
I guess it's the case of like, which is easier or better for managing? Would you rather manage more studios that make games, or would you rather manage less studios that are bigger? So I don't know. I'm not a
It's a good point. I never thought
like
of it that way.
But
yeah, that is an interesting question. I never considered that really, and certainly if they execute it right, then Insomniac wouldn't be the only station or developer in their stable that did that kind of multi-game output in maybe the same year or year and change, like they did with Miles Morales and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
right.
That'd be that's that really gets me thinking. That's kind of smart of them, and just kind of secure what's already halfway there, right? Where they got these studios that made sense, and now they're going to invest in them as well. It makes you wonder what the turnaround time for these games are. Will those droughts be as big? It's exciting. It's really exciting. And whether they're in an arms race or not, I find it hard to believe that they're not acting on, they don't acquire studios often, right? They don't.
Right.
I believe Colin had written that this was the second acquisition in a decade. First since Insomniac. And to see them do two in the same week, like, look, they're not in an arms race with Microsoft, and I believe that 100%. They're not going out and randomly buying people. And not that Microsoft didn't form a partnership with Bethesda, but you could see the extensive long-term work done with someone like Housemarque, where it's very different from Bethesda game studios, where they did Oblivion and Morrowind, and their versions of certain games and DLC were better and came first to Xbox. Like, there was a partnership there, but it wasn't really on other games as strong or as prominent where there was something, but I really love PlayStation's kind of game plan here, because they are in some way responding to Xbox. They're not competing with them, but they are responding and sort of gobbling up what's theirs. And I think a lot of that's because you don't want to risk them walking. I think that almost happened with Insomniac, right? You'd have to imagine it came pretty close. Maybe not that Xbox was going to buy them, but they did team up with Xbox for an exclusive. They played both sides of the fence. They went over and made Sunset Overdrive. So,
right.
Wonder if that may have been part of a wake-up call with then seeing Microsoft invest big with Bethesda of, hey, let's start wrapping people up a little bit quicker. And I think you'll see that more often as their relationships develop.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing too. I mean, real quick, something we talked about on Sacred Symbols is like, who is there really left even to buy? We're kind of seeing the end of a lot of independent studios because they're getting bought. Obviously, a few that come to mind are like, there's Kojima, but I don't think that he really fits because he's already talked about the fact that he sees Kojima Productions as doing more than just games. They want to do movies or whatever. So I don't know if he's wanting to tie himself down again, especially after Konami.
Yeah, right.
There's From Software, but I don't know. They're so successful, they don't need to be bought.
No, I agree. And that's what I was saying about these acquisitions is they may not be the most surprising, but that's kind of good. Like, I kind of want what happened with Bethesda and Xbox to be a once-a-generation thing, where you wake up and suddenly all these studios are gone. If it starts becoming commonplace, I think that's cause for concern.
Yeah.
But as for other studios standing, I mean, there have been lingering rumors of Warner Bros. Games. There are other independent ones that have been linked to Xbox, like IO Interactive, Avalanche, and Crytek. And yeah, I think Warner Bros. Games would probably be the biggest swing of them all, just because of the studios and potential IP you get out of that. That'd be really interesting to see. Probably Microsoft who would swing that deal. But yeah, as long, I want these studios to remain independent, but I'd rather that than like Warner Bros. Games just shuttering their entire game division and doing nothing with it. I think they're wise enough to sell it off if they need to, but I would rather keep them around underneath one of these stables if possible. But
dude,
yeah, I think it's starting to wind down with the big acquisitions.
I just saw a rumor a few days ago. I had no idea this is true. Though a lot of people wrote about it. One of the guys that teased the Ghost of Tsushima expansion also was saying something about Sony buying Arc System Works, which
smart.
That would make sense to me because we're seeing the seeds of Sony's esports. They bought Evo.
Yep.
They what's that team that had that really awkward announcement? Firewatch. Not Firewatch. The one that has the old like ex Call of Duty guys.
Deviation?
No, I'm trying to remember. It was at the Summer Game Fest where they're like, we can't even tell you the title of the game.
That's probably why I don't remember.
Anyway, Sony is clearly laying the seeds of esports. Like they patent that weird like betting thing with esports as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so them buying Arc System
could make
sense. I mean, they in the past they flirted around with this. They bought exclusivity for Street Fighter V. That game never came to Xbox. It came to PC, of course, but
yeah.
So that would be interesting.
I agree. That'd be a really cool get for them. I fucking love Arc System, but that would be just another bullet in Xbox when it comes to their fighting game scene, which I could just go on and on about how dead that is there. It's just, I mean, part of it's in parts of their controller. Like they're just not, it's not a good fighting game controller. Even on the Series X, which I think is probably my favorite controller, it's just not ideal if you're playing a fighting game because it's too clicky. It needs to be soft to the touch.
Right. I mean, that would be interesting if they buy Warner Brothers, then maybe they could get Mortal Kombat. But
Yeah, right. That would be ideal for them, because they're looking for a partner for Killer Instinct, and I'm thinking to myself, what if, right? What if you get NetherRealm? How does that end up? It'd be interesting to see how they match them up. If I were Microsoft and I got NetherRealm, just let them do whatever the hell they want. They'll print money and do a good job with it regardless. All right, Dustin, last bit of news, and then we'll get into our Patron questions, is Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. It was announced this week as well. It was a very, very poppin' week for PlayStation. Before we read the news, I do want to just dive into, with all these announcements, we talked about a state of play rumor last week. Do you still think that happens?
I think it does, but I think not till August, because here's a rumor that I read. I don't want to say heard, because when I say heard, it makes it sound like I have an inside source. I just read this on the internet, but it made sense. It's believable to me. The rumor that I read said that Sony wanted to do a state of play around right now, and they aren't able to, because part of the state of play, or whatever it is, PlayStation Experience, PlayStation Showcase, whatever it's called, part of the showcase is supposed to be the new Call of Duty. And as with many other rumors we've heard, is that Activision is having a very hard time with this Call of Duty, and it is not shaping up as quickly as they would like. And so this rumor was saying that the state of play has been delayed to August because Activision isn't ready to show Call of Duty quite yet. This makes some sense to me in the fact that, like you said, we got all these PlayStation announcements. We got the Ghost of Tsushima. We got the studio announcement. And then take this as the biggest wild card. The Abandon app that was supposed to come out last week with Blue Box Games was delayed till August at the last minute. Okay? They first delayed it from Tuesday to Friday, right? And then Friday rolls around and they say, ooh, we actually need 2 months or over a month. It's like, wait, a few days ago you needed 3 days and now you need a month? That's weird. I mean, now granted, everything is weird about Blue Box.
That's true.
All of these things point to the fact to me that it's like, yeah, they were planning on doing it now, and then something happened. Because, dude, this director's cut announcement, this is bigger than a tweet, and a PlayStation blog post.
I agree.
I'm thinking that they were like, fuck, we can't wait for that. When does this come out, Matty?
August 20th. So
yeah,
it would have been too short if they waited till August, I feel.
Right. This announcement was destined for a state of play, and then they were like, fuck, we can't do it.
I agree entirely. And I just wanted to pick your brain on that because it was something I was thinking about based off our conversation last week on the state of play rumors, and I think it makes entire sense. And the conspiracy theorist in me wants to buy into that. Blue Box is a big connection to that. Like, I think that's the bigger symbol than Call of Duty, right?
Right. Well, here's to lightly touch on Blue Box. I would say that with 95% certainty that there is something going on that's weird and they're being sneaky about it with Sony. Like, Kojima, I'm not as so certain on anymore. I'm kind of like, there are obviously clear connections. I'm not as positive. It definitely could be, but there's definitely something below the surface involving Sony in this game. So that's why I'm like, yeah, that makes total sense to me. Kojima, I don't know.
As for what occurred this week, which was the director's cut being announced for Ghost of Tsushima, there's a lot of new content coming. We're going to sift through the PlayStation blog and go over what's heading to the re-release of this excellent PlayStation exclusive that dropped last year behind The Last of Us Part 2. First is a new expansion called Iki Island. The PlayStation blog reads, if you're a history buff, you may know that in addition to Tsushima, the neighboring island of Iki was also invaded during this time period. Today, we're excited to reveal that a whole new chapter in Jin's journey is coming and will take place on Iki. In this new story, Jin travels to the island to investigate rumors of a Mongol presence, but soon he finds himself caught up in events with deeply personal stakes that will force him to relive some traumatic moments from his past. We'll have more to share about the story of Iki soon. Maybe that's that state of play. But today we can confirm beyond a whole new story and new characters, this island also features tons of new content, including brand new environments to explore, new armor for Jin as well as his horse, new mini-games, new techniques, new enemy types, and much more. There are even new animals to pet. On both platforms, Director's Cut will offer new trophies to unlock for the new Iki content. So we'll stop there. Dustin, I know that PlayStation's done these expansions before. They did Frozen Wilds. I never got to that. I've never really dipped my toes into some of these PlayStation expansions. They did First Light for Infamous. That wasn't crazy to me. I did play that though, because I wanted to play something on my PS4 at the time.
Yeah.
This is one I will absolutely sit down for though. Do you share that sentiment? Is Iki Island calling the name of the Furman?
Yes,
Excellent.
most definitely. I'm excited. I think that I'm excited in that I never went and platinumed Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay.
I did play through all the story and a good amount of the side quests, but not all of them. But I got a good fill, and so now I'm like, you know what? That would be a nice way to hop back in to that universe. And of course, we didn't touch on this yet, but the PS5 version is also very tempting. I love to see, dude, it's such a beautiful game already. I can't even imagine.
Yes, so that's the other thing, is that in addition to that, they are fixing the Japanese lip sync that was off in the original version. They also said there will be adaptive triggers and haptic feedback, 3D audio on PS5, drastically improved load times, 4K resolution options, and frame rate targeting 60 frames per second. If you already own Ghost of Tsushima on PS4, you'll be able to transfer your save to PS5 to pick up where you left off. So for people like me, we can take our save and literally just dive right back in. For new players, the new Iki Island content will be available at the beginning of Act 2 in Ghost of Tsushima after you made your way to the Toyotama region. They don't really specify there if you've beat the game. You can just kind of backtrack to that island, but I'm assuming that you can.
Right.
Alongside other updates, they say that anyone who already owns Ghost of Tsushima will be able to download a patch containing some of the new updates. Once again, many of these updates are directly thanks to the constant stream of feedback that they've been receiving since launch. All players will receive a patch with some new accessibility options for alternate controller layouts, as well as the option to enable target lock-on during combat. This was
shit.
Very, very big, right? We were talking about this. Everyone was talking about this, I feel, when the game was around. This is one of the big hang-ups with combat, is not being able to just lock onto someone and pick your target. Very curious to see how the conversation changed on combat with that in mind. There will also be the ability to hide your quiver during gameplay, which I guess people had a problem with. They'll be also releasing some new updates, including an all-new mode that they're excited to detail for the Ghost of Tsushima Legends. So the multiplayer is getting an expansion. So we'll pause there again because there's still pre-orders to go over with monetary concerns. But what do you make of some of the bells and whistles coming to the PlayStation 5? Is it justified? Are you pumped for this too?
Yeah, I think that I know it's always exciting. The DualSense, I mean, I'm always becoming more and more of a fan of it. So I'm excited for those aspects. Of course, the 4K 60, very nice. 3D audio, if it's done well, like, man, the Returnal 3D audio was really good with headphones. Like, that game was really neat to play. I think it's so, I get it, but the fact that they're like, oh, the lip sync will be good this time as like a big feature, I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, you should be embarrassed.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, not embarrassed, but like,
I think embarrassed. I think that's kind of like, just do it quietly.
Dude, I booted up that game. When I first played that game, I was like, fuck yeah, I'm playing this in Japanese. It's going to be like a Kurosawa movie. I didn't play the Kurosawa mode, which I think we talked about that pretty extensively, that it like fucked up the audio and stuff. But I wanted it to be in Japanese with subtitles. And I was like, the mouth, it doesn't, what? Like, it was so shocking to me that they would do that.
Yeah.
which I get it. You can't have everything at once sometimes at launch. But I'm also like, that's pretty. Don't like, they kind of like were like, play it in Japanese. Like they made it
Mm-hmm.
a big emphasis that you could do that. And then it sucked. I was like, oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
odd.
And they got
So,
good voice talent for it too. That was the other
right.
unfortunate part. So
Yeah. So, Maddie, real quick, let's talk about the pricing structure, because I think this is very interesting.
yes.
So, if you pre-order an upgrade to the director's cut on PS4, so if you have the PS4 version currently, you get the director's cut version with the DLC for $20. If you buy the director's cut on PS4, you'll be able to upgrade to director's cut PS5 anytime for $10. But wait, okay, wait. If you buy the director's cut version on PS4, you can get it upgraded to the PS5 version for $10.
Mm.
Good Lord, Maddie. If
Mm.
you can, okay, and then lastly, if you have Ghost of Tsushima on PS4, you pop it in your PS5, you want the director's cut version with the DLC, $30.
They are
Which,
just nickel and diming you, man. Big time.
if they were just like, hey, $30 for the expansion, I'd be like, all right, fine. It's weird to me though, if you buy the director's cut version on PS4 and you want it to be the PS5 version, $10? Dude, come on, just
Yeah.
read the room with Xbox right now. Read the
Yeah.
fucking room and all these
Yeah.
free PS5 upgrades. If you already fucking buy the director's cut version on PS4, just fucking give it the upgrade for free.
They like want the $70 big time with that, right? And exactly, I totally get what you're saying. Like read the room. Just because I see where PlayStation's coming from. They probably, once again, this is why it's great to have Microsoft at your back, because you could maybe just say, give it to them for free. Let them upgrade for free.
Sure.
But I also don't. The thing is I'm tired of Microsoft's pockets like dwarfing PlayStation so much that people almost feel bad for them. They go, look, they can charge us $10. It's like, no, they can afford to give you the free upgrade. I promise you, they absolutely can.
Right. Like,
Not the expansion, by the way. Sorry, I want to just clarify. Not the
Right.
expansion, not the DLC, just the upgrade from PS4 to PS5. You've already bought the game.
Right. Yeah, that's how I feel about it too, is that it's like, absolutely, content you should pay for. I'm fine with that. The developers work very hard. And I guess, I mean, to play devil's advocate with myself, you could argue like, well, there's a lot of work put into these PS5 versions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I get that, but at the same time, it's like they just put out a Doom Eternal upgrade for PS5.
Wasn't
that
God
was
of War's free?
Well, God of War is not a PS5 app. So it
okay.
is limited. Like it doesn't use DualSense, it doesn't have 3D audio.
Okay.
So I don't know. There's just so many games that do the PS5 version for free that I'm like, you just kind of should go with the market on this.
It's
but,
weird just because it's a first party thing, right? You'd think the first party would be the one to give it out for free, but in fact, the one charging you. At least that's how I would expect it.
Right. It's like, man, like smart delivery is just better all the time. Like this idea, which I guess not all games are smart delivery, but all Xbox first party is smart delivery, right?
Yes.
I can't think of any games that they are like asking people to pay for the upgrade from Microsoft first party, but
yeah, it is definitely frustrating because as like their offering is strong on the tech front. They're kind of just, I feel, offering basic PS5 features that we've seen across many games, and so that's good. Especially a game that utilizes bow and arrow. I think that's where the adaptive triggers feel their best. So I'm excited about something along those lines. I'm not excited for. I don't know how you feel about adaptive triggers. I don't like them though. I genuinely don't. Playing Resident Evil 7, just like that, like this clunky feeling. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like I'm pulling the trigger. I'm like, you're just in the way, man. It feels like something's breaking in my controller. And so for me, seeing some of these updates, especially with back compat, one of the first games I fired up when I got my PS5 was Ghost of Tsushima. And it already was loading quicker. It already looked great, ran in 60. So some of the stuff that they're selling, some very couple of parts. We're kind of already there, where I feel it's a bit of a reach now with the $10 tag.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think of adaptive triggers and all that stuff? I like the haptic feedback, but the adaptive triggers don't really do it for me.
It depends on the game and the implementation. I think that Resident Evil was a little weird at times. Didn't feel quite right. But I think that Ratchet and Clank was awesome. I thought that they did a fantastic job with those adaptive triggers. I think that it's some of the like I think maybe with Resident Evil it's like there's too much resistance, and so it like takes away from my ability to play. It feels like in a way. I don't like that. Ratchet and Clank though I felt like had a nice in between. Also Returnal I thought was pretty good in that like when you aim down sight, you press the left trigger down. And so you would just have to lightly press it to aim down sight. If you want to use the alt fire of the weapon, you have to click. And it wasn't like a heavy click, but it was noticeable. It was like comparable to the GameCube controller in a way. And I thought that was a really interesting idea. This using the adaptive triggers, not just for feeling, but for function is a very interesting concept that I thought Housemarque did a fantastic job with. So I think we're still in the early stages. Not everyone's getting it quite right. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, but regardless, this is exciting. Definitely going to be picking this up. Looking forward to going back to Ghost of Tsushima August 20th. So not much of a long wait either, which I'm happy about. I think the release timing for this is wise, especially as probably we learn more about Horizon. And if that does come out at the end of this year, I think that'll be even more excellent. Where Ghost of Tsushima is just, see if they can go 2 for 2 here and just tucking away their game, right? They're tucking away here in August. Last year, they tucked away in July, found a lot of success there. It's a good summer game, so I'm looking forward to getting back into that. Anything more you want to add, or shall we get into the Patron questions?
I think that was good.
All right,
good,
perfect.
Good conversation.
All right, cool. So with that, we get into the Patron questions. I just want to say that this episode will definitely be shorter than our usual. The reason I say that is because we only have a handful. It might be because we're recording earlier where some of our questions do come in day and date. So we do apologize to those who get missed in this week's episode. But anyway, actually, wow, this is wild. Someone's writing as we speak. It's my fat cock. He's writing in the Patreon. Yeah,
shout out.
He's writing in the Patreon question section as we speak. So we are going to have one more. But anyway, first one goes to Golden Goose. Thank you for writing in, Golden Goose. And you mentioned a Golden Goose at the top of the show, Dustin. Howdy, gentlemen. I know this question might be a little late to the party, but how come everyone is kind of being down on Forza Horizon 5 demo from E3? I know not everyone is super into racing games, but for Microsoft, this is going to be one of their bigger games this year, coming from a studio that has, in my opinion, a pretty fantastic pedigree. I feel like Halo would have had a demo that long. It would have been raved about, even though 343 has had some pretty mixed releases. For me, Playground Games is an amazing company that gets brushed to the wayside because they make racing games. Thanks for the amazing content and keep up the amazing work. Thank you, Golden Goose. Appreciate you writing in. I feel like this is just targeting me. I feel like I'm the only one who and I've clarified it so many times, but I haven't seen like widespread upsetment about the Forza Horizon 5 demo. I was the only one who, in the middle of watching it, even afterwards, I was like, look, I was probably overreacting. But like in the middle of watching it, I was like pretty disgruntled because I was like, dude, just move on. Enough. I get it.
Right.
Have you seen something on this?
My only thing is just that I don't know. I was thinking that maybe it's just like, even though Forza Horizon is very successful, it's still not as a broad appeal as a game like Halo, which Golden Goose brought up, that no one would complain about that. But I think that part of it too is that the demo or the video, wasn't there like the cheesy GameSpeak stuff that's like, hey man, coming up behind you.
Yeah.
Like, Microsoft cannot get away from that. They can have their best showcase in fucking years, and they still do the cheesy GameSpeak stuff that no one talks like. Everyone gets on Discord and they're like, "What's up, bitch?" Like to your friend. Like that's what it's actually like, you know?
Yeah. Imagine they did that.
Yeah, they're like, "What's up, you fucking asshole?" And you're like, "Yeah, whatever, you dick." Like, stuff like that. So, part of me feels like you can say more with less, depending on the situation.
I agree.
I'm almost kind of against like, was it a 10-minute trailer for that?
It was 9-10 minutes long. With
I'm kind of against. I think I would have. I don't want to say this universally, but I feel like I'm kind of against 10-minute dives overall in a showcase. Like, let me think. I'm trying to remember like how long. I'm trying to remember how long God of War, the fantastic God of War reveal from that many E3s ago now. Holy shit, that was 15.
Wow.
It's a 15-minute. Well,
depends. I feel like your show ender can be long. This was not their show ender. It was one of their show closing showcases. I hate to keep beating the dead horse on this one, but just to make my point clear, my only thing that I was annoyed about with Forza Horizon 5 is we learned after the showcase there was more to be shown across many games. And not that Forza Horizon 5 is bad or that I've undersold it. So many people are so convinced. It's like, no. I understand the success that Forza will bring. Horizon's very popular. Horizon 4, one of the most popular Game Pass games. But you can very quickly understand what a racing game will provide on a graphical level, on an exploration level, in the case of Forza Horizon, and on a driving level in probably 5 minutes. And when you start to see afterwards, there was more for Halo, there's more for Starfield, there was more for many games to show, not just talk, show. I do think it was a missed call. I 100% believe it was a missed call. They are a top-tier studio. They do amazing work. For me, seeing Horizon 5, I'm going to play it. I'm looking forward to it. But for me, it's more exciting to be like, this is what they're going to use for Fable. But I think people are kidding themselves if they don't think that, hey, we saw, like, physically afterwards, in the case of Starfield and Halo, there was way more to show. And that they should have spread the wealth more. I'm sorry, but if you cut that demo in half, made it 5 minutes, and you gave 5 more to Halo, or 2 more to Starfield and 3 more to Halo, I think that makes a difference. I 100% think that makes a difference. Just my opinion, but I think people are kidding themselves if that was not something Microsoft was considering, for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Beyond that, though, I don't think anyone's really upset. I'm not upset, and I think people are fine with what happened with Forza, because it's going to be a good game. I have no doubt about that. There's very few games you can kind of just check off for Xbox and go, yep, this will probably nail it. This is one of them, though. Yeah. Playground's going to do a good job with it. I have no doubt. They're very good. Proven
franchise that continually makes it. And the thing is that they don't need to reinvent the wheel. That was no pun intended. I caught it, though. They don't need to, change it up. They just need to do new cars, new tracks, new location, a few new modes, and it'll be great. That's what people expect, and I would think it would be weird to expect anything more than that.
All right, next question comes from Gothic Hello Kitty. Sup, Super Sausage Sons. Discord has some Easter eggs built into it. Like if you spam the Discord icon on the upper left hand, you get different audio sounds when Discord launches. Or if you click your username on the bottom left of Discord in order to copy it, if you continue copying it, you get a sort of Halo announcer themed Easter egg. I actually did not know any of this. Do you guys have any of your favorite Discord Easter eggs or favorite video game Easter eggs? Cheers and have a subpar, second-rate snooze fest sort of sigh today. 3 hearts. Thank you, Gothic Hello Kitty. Appreciate you writing in. You have favorite Easter egg? I didn't even know Discord Easter eggs existed. So you have one in a video game that you can pick out? Because I do pretty immediately.
The first one that comes to my mind instantly, though I'm not sure if it's my favorite, was in the first Halo, you can find the talking grunt in the final level where he's talking about I need to go back to the starship and find the food nipple is what he's like says some weird. He's like, I got a big grunty thirst.
I forgot about that. Wow.
Yeah. Me and some friends, we found that and we thought it was the funniest thing. So yeah, I'll go with that for now.
Mine that comes to mind, one of my favorites. I don't know if it is my favorite. I'd have to give it more thought, but it's Borderlands 2. You're in the it's been so long since it's really actually been since pre-Borderlands 3, but I don't remember it word for word. You're in the kind of underground, toxic waste area. There's lots of green goo. And at one point, you could see in the distance an island. If you have high enough shields and health, you can run out to this island, and what's waiting there is the Knight of... oh my gosh. The guy who sits around the bonfire with you in Dark Souls.
Oh, Solaire?
Yes, Solaire. Thank you.
I think I remember seeing this.
And I remember making a video about it, actually, funny enough. And I remember seeing that because I found it on my own. That was the other thing. I did not see it online. I had found it on my own. And Borderlands 2 being built off a lot of Easter eggs. You know, they had a TMNT side quest where you had to deliver pizza to like 4 ninja rats instead of turtles. That was awesome to see. So I think that has to go up there with one of my favorites. Just that level of, you know, nodding and secrecy, just kind of off to the side. I love when developers do that, kind of acknowledge each other. Borderlands 2, obviously, just I think a masterful game, but that would probably go down as one of my favorites. It's hard for me to summon them because I don't look for them. I usually find them online. It's one of those, oh, that's cool. I'm sorry. A very recent one, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, the Rhino. Have you used that?
Oh, the Rhino?
Yeah, the secret weapon that you get when you get all the gold bolts.
No, I haven't done that. But I think I know what you're referring to because they like spoiled it on Twitter.
Yes, I did as well. But I don't care because it was really cool. Because certain characters come out and it's pretty fucking sweet, man. I gotta say. That's one of my favorites for sure. All right, Sean Mason's up next. I'm sure this is a story. Hey, sexy boys. This past Saturday, myself and 3 of my buddies I graduated college with went to a Red Sox-Yankee game at Fenway Park. For the most part, we enjoyed ourselves. Not only did the Yankees lose, but we had a tremendous seats, 2 rows behind the third base dugout. That is awesome, by the way, especially if the Yankees lost, because I can't fucking stand them. I can't stand their fans. They're like fanboys of sports, so it's kind of interesting. Throughout the game, a younger child around 6 or 7 was trying to get a foul ball or a ball from a player. At this point, he hadn't had any success, but during the top of the 8th inning, a ball came plopping our way. Little boy struck out his hat to try and catch it. When the ball landed in his hat, the momentum caused him to drop his hat. Immediately, a man, probably in his mid-60s, turned around and snatched the ball. At this point, the man had already gotten 3 balls. Logically, everyone in our section assumed he would give it to the kid. But what did this fucking asshole do? Put it in his pocket and said to the kid, "Sorry, boy, you have to be better than that if you want a ball." This made the kid cry. At this point, everyone around started yelling and swearing at the guy. It got to the point where our section started a "you're an asshole" chant at the guy. The man just sat there with a smug look on his face. So my question, as a kid, did an adult or other than your family member ever make you cry? Best, Sean.
Damn. What an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, to some sense, sometimes when I see, like, if you catch the ball yourself, you have no obligation to give it to a kid. If you're the one who physically, if you want to give it to kid or your girl, you hand it to her and everyone's like, it's fine. Don't, if that kid fucking caught it.
Yeah, absolutely. If he had it and he dropped it, it's his. It's his by default.
Yeah. As a kid, did an adult ever make you cry? Oh yeah. I mean, all the time.
All the time.
I had teachers that made me cry because they were mean. I was a very sensitive young lad, so
Stark contrast from the man you are today.
I'm still pretty sensitive. If
really?
I'm being, I feel like I'm sensitive, but I've learned to cope. I mean, people aren't making me cry anymore, but
I get it. I'm trying to think. I have a ton. I used to be a crybaby in the sense that I just wanted to be home. So, I mean, obviously I'm a homebody. Here I am doing the show in my flannel, completely comfortable. Like, yeah, I'm a homebody through and through. I remember, it wasn't like an adult made me cry. But I remember going to a baseball camp, and I like sports. I love sports now. And probably growing up, I know if I stuck with it, I would have been a really good player because I was decent for someone who just did not like it at all. And my parents always tried to encourage me because they knew, like, you know, if I got over that hump, I would be a pretty successful player. But I just wanted to go home. And so I remember going to a summer camp baseball thing at a high school, and thunderstorms used to scare the shit out of me. And I remember, like, it started thundering while we were there, and I was, like, sitting by a vending machine, like, almost not in the fetal position, but just being a little fucking bitch. And I was crying. And then my brother, nonetheless, was one of the people who was running the camp. And so I should have been fine, all things accounted for. You know, you had that safety net. You were in a big building. You're safe with that. And your big brother's there. You're safe with that. But I was like, no, I need to go home. So I started crying like a little wuss there. But beyond that, adults, no, I usually just get really annoyed. That has always been a thing with me since I was a kid. I don't cry. Sometimes I wish I cried because it's just such a relief when it comes out, at least for me. I feel good when I cry because I'm like, oh, finally, those emotions have been let out. But I barely cry, so it takes a lot, which is a good thing and a bad thing, I think. I keep my composure, but there are times I'm like, I wish I could just let this out. But instead, I just get very annoyed.
I can't think of the last time I cried. I have not, at least definitely not cried this entire year.
Holy shit, that's impressive.
I don't
in
think.
July.
I'm not a.
Have I cried this
I'm
year?
not a big crier.
I'm trying to think. I don't think I've cried this year either.
I don't have anything against crying. I encourage it.
I mean, yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it. Although I did start off this conversation talking about my piss farts being a little more masculine, so maybe that's it. Just had a little more masculine energy here in 2021. All right, Cody Richter's up next. Hey, Green Eggs and Ham. As someone who owns both the digital PS5 and Series S console, I'm all aboard the digital train when it comes to gaming. This is bold. This is very bold. Even on my Switch and Vita, I generally purchase my games digitally. With Nintendo potentially revealing and releasing a Switch Pro, what's the possibility they do an all-digital version of that console in addition to the base model? The Switch is notorious for having horrible Wi-Fi reception, so maybe the new one can do away with the cartridge slot and utilize that extra room for some better network components. It's a good idea. If Game Pass ever comes to the console, that just makes it even more sense for a strictly digital/streaming-based console. Curious to hear your guys' opinion, since you both are pretty big on physical games. Yeah, I'm wondering if it's a game-by-game thing. Sorry, I know you were about to say something, but I was just thinking of Mario Golf, where the online has worked really well for that. I've had no issues, but Smash is notorious for, like, dropping lobbies, lagging a ton, not being strong connection. But sorry, what were you going to say?
No, there's no way, particularly with the Switch, that they're going to release a digital-only version, because Nintendo owns the means of production of Switch carts, and they make a lot of money on Switch carts. And that's why you see, right, and that's why you see a lot of games do the requires whatever download or whatever, like, or like, for example, even I'm trying to think, like, well, I think even Nintendo will cheap out on some stuff, like Bayonetta only included Bayonetta 2 on the cartridge.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But or you'll see that a lot. Like, I think one of the Mega Man Collection games that they're like, Mega Man Collection 2 is on the cart, but the first one is a download.
Yeah, that's weird.
And the bigger carts are more expensive, and Nintendo makes money on those. So I don't think they're going to do that. I think that they see too much value, especially with their market being geared towards kids. I don't know what kids think about digital, honestly. Maybe they don't care now in the era of Fortnite, but I feel like a kid on Christmas wants to open a Mario game in a box.
Yeah.
So I don't think they would do it.
I do think it depends. Dustin, dare I tap into this and say, I think it depends on how you're raised, right? Like, I feel grew up in a home where like, you waited for the boxed item. You got the thing. But I also grew up in a house that was not very like, hey, happy birthday, here's a gift card, or happy birthday, I dropped $100 in your Venmo. It was like, we got you something. We thought of you. And I think that's it depends on the family life that you grow in, right? I think that's how your physical game future is determined. It comes from the family. So that's by the way, not judging Cody Richter, who has chosen an all digital future. I'm sure Cody had a great family life, but more to my point is, all joking aside, I don't see Nintendo doing this personally. I don't think they have enough games that. Well, funny enough, they're doing this Super Mario Party thing that has like 64 games, and it's online right off the bat. So, they are shifting towards more online components. Bowser's Fury, I think you could play online with a friend, or whatever new Mario game came out at the beginning of this year. There was something you could do online with a friend. So they are shifting to that a little bit. Of course, Mario Golf, the game we talked about a ton in this show. Online play, really good online play. They actually even added like an invite structure to that game, which I found quite peculiar, because you could tell Nintendo's systems aren't really built for online, because you have to close app to then accept the invite. Have you accepted any invites for Mario Golf?
No.
So yeah, you open up the invite and you're like, oh.
Yes, I have.
Isn't
separately.
it weird?
I have the same separate instance. Basically, we wanted to restart a match.
Mm-hmm.
This is when I was playing with Kopi, and he was like, I was like, how do I back out? He's like, you don't.
Yeah.
You just restart the app. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, only Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Only Nintendo.
Yeah, and so what happens is when you get an invite, it'll say, are you sure you want to restart your app? And you think you've clicked something wrong. You say yes. It kicks you to the main menu. You press L and R at once, and then it drops you in the lobby. Like, something happens when the app restarts to connect you to someone's lobby, and that's probably why you can't just back out to the main menu. So it's really fascinating. But despite all of that, Nintendo has added some more online components to their games, but I don't think they're going to do... I think they just need a stronger Wi-Fi adapter. I don't know if they need more network parts, whatever that would entail. Just something more modern that's not from like 2006 in my compact laptop. Like, just something that will keep connectivity. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you for the writing, Cody. Jay Lopez is our next one. Hey, Maddie and Dustin, I don't know if this is a hot take, but do you think a Resistance Trilogy remaster would do good in today's age? I know it's another human versus alien game, but always thought Resistance had a unique universe with good lore building. Also, with an update in the shooting mechanics, I personally think the game would be super fun. Where do you stand on Resistance, Dustin?
Never played it.
Oh.
Never played Resistance.
Oh. I played the third one. Really good.
Okay. Everyone says it's great. So I feel like this is one of those games that maybe they didn't do super well when they first came out, but now they kind of have a bit of a cult following. That, maybe if they shine them up in the right ways. First one's pretty dated, though, at this point. It's a launch
Second one's
game.
even very dated, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I would even argue the third one doesn't feel good to play. Then again, though, you can only play it on a PS3 controller. So there's that.
Yeah, it might be better to do Remake.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that this game would do well nowadays, because I don't know if like human versus alien is as tropey as Jay Lopez has made it out to be. Maybe I'm just forgetting a number of games that have followed this, but I don't simplify it down to that, because I think there's so much more that goes into it. Like in Resistance 3, you're literally trekking across the United States, and you're seeing, it's almost like Fallout, but Ratchet and Clank. And there's like Metro vibes in it. It's really a unique game, where maybe that's what he was tapping into with the unique universe and good lore building. But I think it stands out enough where you can't really water it down quite like that. And even if you don't care about the universe, the gameplay, at least in 3, was really fun. Lots of alternate fires and for each of your guns, and just really fun ways to play. You can see the Ratchet and Clank DNA. It's interesting watching Insomniac sidesteps where you can see, for example, Sunset Overdrive to Spider-Man, I think is a good transitional point, and Resistance to Ratchet and Clank, you can see transitions there. It's really fun to watch them, because you can see how they take inspiration from other games, but continue to keep an identity with the thing they're working on that's new.
Right.
So I would love to see Resistance come back. I would love to see Infamous 1 and 2 come back as well, while we're on that topic. I would be a big fan of that. But beyond that, of course, Sly Cooper, new PlayStation All-Star Battle Royale. I could go on all day on stuff I want PlayStation to do, but I'll settle for Resistance Trilogy Remaster. Last question of the show. I'm a fat cock who wrote in as we recorded this. Feliz Viernes, gentlemen. May you and your respective clans be in good health and happiness. Same to you and anyone who's listening. Unkempt Talk asked you last week about covers of video game music. While it seemed you weren't too into them for the most part, I believe this particular version of Way of the World, the final song from Nier Automata by Scar Productions, is extremely well done. FYI, it is a metal version, but it should not be off-putting. Perfect segue to my question. The prior song was such a hard-hitting song for the end of that game and really stuck with me personally. Another example of a similarly impactful song is the Real Folk Blues from Cowboy Bebop. Just hits close to home when I hear it. Is there any ending song to a game or show that you feel perfectly encapsulates everything about it as an entity and moves you to some degree? May your weekend be laden with joy and fulfillment. Very kind words, thank you. I can think of certain tracks, but an ending track, Dustin, does one pop into the old noggin for that?
Yeah. For me, I mean, obviously, Weight of the World is a great pick.
Yes.
I'm not saying this is my favorite. This is just the first one that comes to mind, other than Weight of the World, of course, is this isn't the ending track, but it's near the end. It's like one of the big ending songs, and that is the song Undertale from the game Undertale. Is super cool, and it's very well implemented into the game. You're going to see the king, right? And it is emotional. And that is one of my favorite moments, I think, like in games. You know, this is the whole thing that I've talked about where as low-key cringe as it may be, I feel like Undertale is a game that made me more empathetic as a person.
I don't think it's cringe that a game moved you.
Yeah.
I remember as a teenager, Gone Home was particularly moving for me. Like that was a real experience, right? Like that's totally not cringe.
I think the thing with Undertale is just I don't like a lot of the Undertale fan base just because they're like obsessive. Yeah. So that's why it feels a little cringy, but so yeah, I'll go with that one.
Mine probably isn't too surprising. Well, actually, it might be a smidge surprising because it's a curveball. Obviously, I'm a big Persona fan. So not Persona 5 Royal, but Persona 5, the base game. The end credit song for that one felt like you'd been on a real journey. And I love that one. I don't like the Royal ending song as much. I feel like they kind of changed it just to change it. And honestly, that the ending song from 5 would have fit better with Royal. Strange how they did it. But I remember wrapping up 5 and sort of feeling like, wow, you kind of rest your controller and take it in for a moment, like it's over. Holy crap. For me, that was a pretty significant one. It's in Japanese, so I don't really understand. It's not like Way of the World where you can kind of piece together the lyrics and feel out what it means for the game itself. But to me, that's the most standout one where once I finished it, because I'm really not big on the credits because immediately once the game stops, I leap into my thoughts. And that's just how I'm wired. I start thinking, did I like that? And I don't pay attention to the credits all that much. I'll watch if there's like little sentimental call outs, and I think they're important, right? Like I think it's important to note the experience to sort of, recapture that journey and everything you've done along the way. So I'll pay attention to that, but I'm more so in my head. And so when a game captures me in its end credits, particularly rare. And most times I'm just sitting there and I just wait to see if there's an end credit scene. But beyond that, I can't really think of much else other than Persona 5.
We should also, of course, give a shout out to Persona 4 Golden with Nevermore.
Of course.
Which is also,
yes, of course.
Very good.
Yes. Classic indeed.
Classic.
So that's all I've got for this week's episode of H.A.M Radio Podcast. Dustin, it has been a blast as we enter the afternoon. We've done quite well.
Here's what I'll say, Maddie, is that we'll let the audience decide. But while this episode has been 1 hour, around 1 hour 40-ish, I feel like it's been all quality this whole time. No lulls. So
yeah, I agree.
I feel like it's been a good episode. I've been in a good, surprisingly good and upbeat mood for going to bed at 2 and waking up at 7:30.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
as I said earlier,
here.
I will die.
Yeah, same here. If anyone's watching the video version, they saw me yawn a couple of times towards the end. So I'm a guy who, my food's a pick me up, so I need some food in my system. I had some cinnamon toast before we fired this up. Thought that'd be enough, but it started to feel like I needed more as we got deeper into the show. But thank you to those who listened. I feel like our energy was great this episode. At least I should say, I knew you would have been fine. For me, I'm surprised I didn't sound like this when we started it. So,
oh yeah,
Appreciate all of you tuning in, listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the H.A.M Radio Podcast. If you want to support in any way, Patreon and Dustin's stream are linked down below. Go support those. And to wrap it up, a hashtag, early ham.
Early ham or piss fart.
Piss. I think piss fart's more enticing.
Let's
I
do
got
piss fart. Yeah.
All right, perfect. So if you got this deep into the show, let us know with the hashtag piss fart, whether it be a comment, a tag on Twitter. Maybe you don't want people to see the tag on Twitter, so throw it in the comments. Whatever you want. We'll be there. We'll be watching. And until then, take good care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week with episode 309. Peace out.
Till next time. See ya.